I'm going to walk through how to complete the action monument hyper dot. And when you are completing this, there's a couple of things to remember. So it's important, if you get stuck, to ask your group if you're working with a group, or to revisit these instructions if you are using these instructions. As we go through, we're going to start with our directions. We'll do an example, and we might pick a box to do. Directions. You'll find below. You'll find the original roadside sign for the Acton incident. There is very charged language inside the original sign, which paints the actions that the Native Americans took in a negative light. Here is a link to the online dictionary in case you'd like to define some of the words, and here is a link to the thesaurus, which helps you find similar and related words. This is the complete text typed out to make it easier to read. We'll go through this. On a bright Sunday afternoon, August 18th, 1862, 4 young Sioux hunters on a spur-of-the-moment dare decided to prove their bravery by shooting Robinson Jones, the postmaster and storekeeper at Acton in Westra Meeker Jones. Followed by the seemingly friendly Indians, went to the neighboring Howard Baker cabin, which stood on the site. Here the whites and the Indians engaged in a target shooting contest. Suddenly, the Indians turned on the settlers and without warning shot Baker, Renius Webster, another settler, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Baker, Mrs. Webster, and several children escaped by hiding. Then the Indians rode off, shooting Jones's adopted daughter, Clara D. Wilson, as they passed the Jones cabin. The Indians fled south to their village 40 miles away on the Minnesota River. There they reported what they had done, and the Sioux chief decided to wage an all-out war against the white man. Thus, the unplanned shooting of 4 settlers here at Acton triggered the Bloody Sioux Uprising of 1862. The bodies of the settlers were buried in a single grave in the Ness Lutheran Cemetery near present-day Litchfield. In 1878, the state of Minnesota erected a granite monument there. That site where the Baker cabin stood was similarly marked in 1909. When completing our portion, underline, Control-U, the words that you would like to remove. Italicize, Control-I, the words that you would like a thesaurus for. I'm going to capitalize my I. And use highlight for words that demonstrate bias, which is an opinion, not a fact. We're going to do an example together. The example comes from the nursery rhyme Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Well, this right off the bat, it demonstrates some bias, doesn't it? And this bias focuses language specifically on the fall. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to remove one of these words. Now, a fall is a fall no matter how tall. I could replace Dr. Seuss here. And so I'm going to take out the word great, because great, it isn't necessary. Because I'm taking the word great out, I'm going to press Control-U. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Well, a king is pretty powerful, and I don't think that all of the king's horses or all of the king's men would be involved on this. And it doesn't seem like that would be true. I'm going to use my critical thinking skills and say that all wouldn't be all of them. That would be too many. I'm going to also remove the word all. So I'm going to remove it by pressing Control-U. And if it's up here, all the king's horses and all the king's men, I'm going to remove this word too, all the king's men. So I did Control-U. Couldn't put Humpty together again. Well, couldn't sounds like a negative bias. If I told you my niece couldn't hit a ball very far, well, it's obvious she couldn't hit a ball far because she's super young. So I should probably pick a different word other than couldn't. I might use my thesaurus, which means I'm going to italicize that word. And do I have anything that demonstrates bias? Well, maybe the word great demonstrates bias, because great would be like a tremendous one. So I'm going to highlight that, because even though it's removed, it demonstrates bias. So now I'm going to start working on my version. So my version says Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. So far, that's factual. Humpty Dumpty had a all. Remember, we deleted the word great. We deleted the word all. So it says the king's horses and the king's men. Now I have the word couldn't, which I italicized. I want to find a non-biased word for couldn't. I'm not sure, so I'm going to go up to my thesaurus right here and click thesaurus, and I'm going to put in the word couldn't and see if there's anything that doesn't show bias. Yeah, that's the word right there. Could not. Does there anything here? Could not. Could not could also be like unable, I think. It's because it's a contraction. So if I said the words all the king's men and all the king's horses were unable to put Humpty together again. Let's see what that sounds like. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a fall, the king's horses and the king's men were unable to put Humpty together again. Well, what did we change? We removed the word great. Why did we do that? It was just a fall. Great is dramatic. What else did we do? We removed the word all because we do not believe that it was all the king's men and horses. And what was our final change? We changed the word couldn't. I hope that will autocorrect. Dang it. Couldn't to were unable. This is more objective and less negative. So we have the original, we have our version, and we have our explanation. This is what I would like to see for all of our lines. When you're going through, look for things that demonstrate bias. And as you're looking for something that demonstrates bias, let's see if we have time to do one. Let's do one together. Let's go to our dice roller. Dice roller. There are how many lines? There are 17 lines, so let's just go up to automatically add number. Let's go to 17. We'll just roll a 20-sided dice. We'll remove the 4. So 10. We got to line 10. Let's go to 10. 10. Then the Indians rode off, shooting Jones's adopted daughter, Clara D. Wilson, as they passed the Jones cabin. Well, I might say, then the Native Americans, right, rode off. There's nothing really to change there, but I did go off and change Indians, and what am I doing? I'm going to italicize because I changed it. Then the Indians rode off, shooting Jones's adopted daughter. That's a charged sentence. Instead, I can say, Jones's adopted daughter was shot. And what was her name? Jones's adopted daughter, Clara D. Wilson. And then my last part, as they passed the Jones cabin. That's nothing really to change there because that's what happened, but as the Native Americans passed the Jones cabin. So I'm going to say, as the Native Americans passed the Jones cabin. What did I do? I changed the term Indians to Native Americans. This is more appropriate. What else did I do? Jones's adopted daughter was shot. I made that into just a, changed the tense of it. So I'm going to say, I changed the tense of the shooting. Did I do anything else? Well, I just kept in the as they And then my final change, I made it say Native Americans instead of they, which provided better clarity. Provided better clarity on the group we were talking about. So those are my three changes, and you'll notice that I'm now going to make sure that it is a capital A and a capital N to ensure that everything is set. When you're working through on this activity, you'll want to follow through to make sure that everything is set, and as you are going through on each individual line, you'll need to make sure that you are defining what did you change and why. Remember that your links are on top for using the online thesaurus if you need to, and the dictionary as well.